同学们，大家好，这是向老师。我们在学就和才。So welcome back. This is Dr. Shuhuashan, and we are in a unit like learning how to use 就 and 才. Both are conjunctive adverbs, as they both work as adverbs, and also they connect the discourse, so they're conjunctions. We all have learned these two words in your textbooks, but here we'll use natural examples to show you that their functions and their constructions go way beyond what are presented in the textbooks. Especially, we want to look at a lot of the fixed expressions that you may not have learned, and they are highly useful and highly formulaic. So at the very end of the previous video, we looked at fixed expressions of 就 for expressing promptness and earlier than expectedness. Now we continue with 才 for expressing the idea of belatedness, as late as, not until. And what are the fixed expressions with 才 for that meaning? First one, 最后才. So when you see the word 最后, you often see it comes together with 才, 最后才. So in the very end, then something happened. For example, you lost your cell phone, you looked for it everywhere, only until the very end you find it in a classroom. So it goes like this. 我的手机丢了. It got lost. My cell phone got lost. 找了很多地方. I looked for it many places, 都没找到。很多地方，我找了很多地方都没找到。最后才 in the very end, 才在教室里 in classroom 找到了 found it. This is a natural example from actual usages by native speakers. The importance here not only to look at 最后才 as a chunk, but also to notice that Mandarin Chinese has this feature of so-called implicit subject. So here, for example, 找到了 found something. Who found it? The subject is missing in this sentence. But it's understood. Of course, it's I looking for my cell phone. So Chinese text is like that. If you have a sentence subject that's understood, you don't have to mention it explicitly. If you do, it will sound rather awkward. For example, 我的手机丢了，我找了很多地方都没找到，我最后才在教室里找到了。That would be really awkward, very choppy. So just keep using implicit subject. Just don't use the subject if it's already understood. The second fixed expression is 很久才, so for a long time. Then, if the telephone has rung for a long time, and before someone picks it up, you can say 电话响了, 响 ring, 响了很久才有人来接. So the phone is rung for a long time before someone comes to pick it up. 电话响了很久才有人来接. 电话响了很久才有人来接. Third one, 以后才. Something 以后才. So after something, then. So you also see 以后才 as a chunk. For example, a lot of us didn't know that China has many local dialects until they go to China and then they find out they didn't understand a single thing. Because if they travel to western or southern parts of China, the language is very different from Mandarin. So you can say 去了中国以后, not until I went to China, 才知道 did I know 中国话有很多的方言. Not until I went to China did I know that Chinese has lots of local dialects. 以后才. So after these fixed expressions, let's move on to look at a bundle of functions of 就 and 才 where they mark so-called conditions, conditional sentences. What is a conditional sentence? You know, in everyday life, we often talk about the conditions. If something happens, then something follows. Or as long as something happens, something follows. So 就 and 才 gives you the tool to talk about two opposite scenarios. One is called sufficient condition. So as long as this is met, something will happen. Versus necessary condition. Only if the condition is met will something happen. So let's take a look at examples. So if you're talking about going to play basketball, depending on the weather, you can say 明天不下雨，我们就去打篮球。If it doesn't rain tomorrow, we'd go to play basketball. 明天不下雨，我们就去打篮球。So if it doesn't rain tomorrow, we'll go to play basketball. The same sentence. Switching only the adverb 才 the meaning gets opposite. 明天不下雨，我们才去打篮球。So we won't play basketball unless it's not raining tomorrow. So 就 and 才 not only connects the two clauses, they also convey your attitude. How do you position yourself toward the rain? Is it the condition that's sufficient for you going to play basketball, or is it the condition you're waiting for? That's the only condition that's gonna make basketball playing happen. 明天不下雨，我们就去打篮球。明天不下雨，我们才去打篮球。The meaning is very rich, but the structure is very simple. Basically, a clause, another clause, 就 comes before the main verb of the second clause. So this is the imagery just to show you in terms of marking conditions. 才 means not until, therefore you can think of these dots on the line as various conditions, situations, scenarios you're considering. This is no, we're not going. This is no, this is no. Not until the red dot. So we'll only go if this happens. So A, the dot here, is the only and actual time or condition for event to happen. Now let's look at some examples. This is a catchphrase for a detergent brand in China. It says 努力, so try very hard. 努力 means to try hard. 就有机会, 有机会, the existence of opportunities. So if you try hard, there will be opportunity. 努力就有机会. Very encouraging message. What if we switch this 就 to 才? 努力才有机会. Then your attitude becomes different. It means you would only have opportunity if you try. So it makes try a hard to get kind of thing. Another example. 婚礼要热热闹闹才好. Weddings, it's only good if it's very noisy and happy, bubbly. Versus 婚礼要简简单单就好. So wedding, as long as it's simple, that's fine. So that's good enough. So you can see how the structure may be the same, but switching the adverb, your attitude become different. 才 makes the situation as the only one, would satisfy the idea of being a good wedding. Versus 就, that's only the only thing we consider. It just needs to be simple. We haven't considered anything else. So you see the difference here. So here we have an example of an aphorism that has been very important in the Chinese society. This is President Deng Xiaoping. In 1962, he had this aphorism. 不管黑猫白猫，不管 no matter. So no matter it's black cat, 白猫 or white cat. 捉到老鼠，捉到捉 to catch 到 result 捉到老鼠 rats mice 就是好猫 it's gonna be good cat. So Deng Xiaoping has said this. Regardless it's black cat or white cat, if it catches mice, it's a good cat. This opens the door to economic reforms in China, and people are using this to justify all sorts of social changes. As long as there's economic gain, it's a good thing. 捉到老鼠就是好猫。And you can see how this 就 helps to mark catching mice as the immediate condition, the only thing we're considering for a good cat. If we switch this to 才是捉到老鼠才是好猫, the attitude will be very different. It will mean that I know you guys are trying many different things, but not until you catch mice would you be a good cat. So it's a very different scenario. So let's look at fixed expressions for the function of marking sufficient condition. So you see 只要, often you do also see 就 in the same utterance because they are a fixed expression together as a pattern. As long as 只要 means the only thing, as long as. 只要每天练习说中文就能说得流利. So as long as you practice every day, you're going to be fluent. 只要每天练习说中文就能说得流利. As long as you practice every day speaking Chinese, you will be able to speak it fluently. Another fixed expression, highly useful, 就行了. That's sufficient. 就好了. That's good enough. 就可以了. That's all right. Because the use of 就, it makes the expression very comforting, reassuring. That's nothing to worry about. That's all there is. For example, 想进公园, so you want to go into the park? 买票就行了. All you need to do is to buy the ticket. This idea of all you need to do is just comes from the phrase 就行了. 想进公园, you want to go to the park? 买票就行了. Or 买票就好了. Or 买票就可以了. But what are some of the fixed expressions for 才, marking a necessary condition? 只有才, only. 只有 means only if. 只有. 每天练习说中文才能说得流利. You would speak fluently only if you practice every day. So you see how this is very different attitude toward practicing in Chinese. If it's only if you do that can you be fluent, make it really hard to get. Versus 只要, as long as you do that, very simple to get. Another fixed expression, 必须 or 得. This is the idea of you must or you have to. 才. 你必须买票才能进公园. So you must buy tickets when you go into park. So you have to buy ticket when you go into park. This is a very different attitude from saying all you need to do is to buy tickets. That's it. This makes buying ticket to be such a big deal. 你必须 or 你得买票才能进公园. Third one, 一定要 一定 must, absolutely, 要 need to. So you must absolutely do this, will this happen. 一定要打工才能负担学费. So for a lot of us, we must work part-time, 打工 working part-time. Can we afford the tuition and fees? 学费 tuition and fees. 一定要打工才能负担学费. So if we switch 才 to 就, 只要打工就能付学费。It makes working part-time as such a piece of cake, easy thing. 只要打工就能负担学费 ，versus 一定要打工 I have to work part-time. This is the only condition that would enable me to pay the tuition. 一定要打工才能负担学费。So let's take a break now, and next we'll look at the 就 as flying solo. So this is a case where 就 has a meaning that there's no counterpart of 才. In fact, 就 is much more frequent in natural language than 才. So from now on, we're going to see how 就 is used on its own with lots of different functions without considering 才, because 才 doesn't enter the picture. There's no mirror images there. So 谢谢大家，我们一会儿再见。